June 18, 1943, Camp Monticello, New York, prisoner of war. Giuseppe Russo steps off the train. 6 weeks from Tunisia to Norfolk to here. Upstate New York. Mountains, green, nothing like the desert. An American officer calls names. Stu Russo. You'll be working for the Russo family. Giuseppe freezes. Russo, his name, his family name. The officer continues. Bianchi, you're with the Bianchi vineyard. Romano, the Romano farm needs help. Colombo, Marino, Ricci. Italian names, all Italian names. Giuseppe's throat constricts. These aren't American names. These are names from his village, from his church registry, from his family tree. Corporal Marino, Italian-American guard, laughs. What, you think you invented the name Russo? My grandfather was Russo before he came here in 1892. Changed nothing. Still Russo, just American now. He says it in Italian, badly accented, but Italian. You know, the cowards who became victors. This is the story of 51,000 Italian POWs who came to America expecting to find suffering Italian emigrants oppressed by capitalism. Instead, they found Italian Americans running the country, owning banks, electing mayors, playing professional baseball, guarding them as prisoners. And in that discovery, Mussolini's entire ideology crumbled. Before we continue, 10 seconds. Subscribe to WWII History Hub right now if you want stories that shatter propaganda with facts, every day, every week. The moments when reality defeated ideology, when numbers proved lies, when prisoners learned the truth their governments hid. 51,000 Italian POWs came to America. 90% of them eventually joined Italian service units, working with America against fascism, and 5,000 stayed permanently after the war, choosing America over Italy. Subscribe, bell icon. Let's continue. Mussolini's great emigrant myth. 1922 and 1943, Fascist Italy's propaganda machine. Benito Mussolini had a problem. Between 1880 and 1920, 5.5 million Italians had emigrated, mostly to America. That's nearly 15% of Italy's population. Gone. For a regime built on national pride and Italian supremacy, this was humiliating. If Italy was so great, why did millions flee? Mussolini's solution? Rewrite the narrative. The official fascist line became, Italian emigrants were economic refugees forced to leave by pre-fascist corruption. They suffered terrible oppression in America. They lived in poverty and discrimination. They yearned to return to Mussolini's glorious Italy. Il Duce himself declared in a 1927 speech, "Our brothers in America cry out for liberation from capitalist slavery. When Italy is strong enough, we will answer their call." School textbooks showed Italian Americans as defeated, humiliated, desperate. Newsreels depicted them in tenement slums, working brutal factory jobs, facing discrimination from Anglo-Americans. The message, staying in Italy would see success. Leaving Italy began failure. By 1943, when Giuseppe Russo was conscripted into Mussolini's army, he believed this narrative completely. Why wouldn't he? It's all he'd ever been taught, the numbers. They didn't know what fascist propaganda never told Italian soldiers. Italian American population, 1940 US Census. Total, 5.5 million, including second generation. New York, 1.1 million, 17% of city's population. New Jersey, 430,000. Pennsylvania, 350,000. California, 200,000. Geographic concentration. Italian Americans dominated entire neighborhoods, owned businesses, controlled political machines. Economic status, 1940. Median household income, $2,400 a year, slightly above US national average. Home ownership, 42% was 43% national average. Car ownership, 40% of families. Electrification, 85% of Italian American homes versus 79% national average. Political power, by 1943, Fiorello La Guardia, Mayor of New York City, Italian American. Giuseppe Bianco, Connecticut State Treasurer. Vito Marcantonio, U.S. Congressman, New York. Hundreds of city council members, judges, police chiefs. Cultural prominence, Joe DiMaggio, New York. Yankees national hero, Italian American. Frank Sinatra, rising music star, Italian American. Bank of America, founded by A.P. Giannini, son of Italian immigrants. The truth? Italian Americans weren't suffering, they were thriving. But Italian POWs didn't know any of this. Fascist censorship ensured they couldn't. The capture, 1942-1943 North Africa campaign. Italy entered WWII in June 1940, believing Germany would win quickly. By 1942, Italian forces in North Africa were collapsing. British and American forces captured Italian soldiers by the thousands. Operation Torch, November 1942, 10,000 plus captured. Tunisia campaign, November 1942, May 1943, 40,000 plus captured. Sicily, July 1943, thousands more total Italian POWs held by Allies, over $600,000. Of these, 51,000 were sent to the United States. Why America? Britain couldn't feed them. North Africa lacked facilities. America had space, food, and labor shortages. The POWs were scattered across 28 camps in 22 states. By fall 1943, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, desert camps, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, near Italian-American communities, California, Colorado, Montana. The journey was their first shock. On the transport ship, documented in POW memoirs, 3 hot meals daily, more food than they'd seen in months in the Italian army. White bread, a luxury in rationed Italy. Real coffee, not the chicory substitute. Medical care, POWs with infections treated with penicillin. Private Flavio Conti wrote in his memoir, Prisoners in Paradise, "On the ship to America, we ate better than Italian officers." The American guards seemed confused why we were so grateful. To them, this was normal. To us, it was abundance we'd never known. Arrival in America, July 1943. POWs were processed at Norfolk, Virginia, then transported by train to camps. The train journey through American countryside shocked them. Farms with mechanized equipment, tractors, combines, cars everywhere, on every farm, in every town. Electric lights burning in rural homes, paved roads connecting even small villages. Giuseppe Russo wrote in a censored letter home, preserved in National Archives, "America is not bombed, not rationed, not starving. The farms are enormous. Every family has automobiles. I don't understand. Where is the suffering Mussolini told us about?" They were about to find out that suffering Italian Americans was the least accurate thing Mussolini told them. The first Sunday, dinner, July 1943, the Colombo Farm, New Jersey. POW Flavio Conti is assigned to agricultural labor, placed with the Colombo family, farmers in Bergen County. The surname matching was intentional. U.S. placement officers tried to pair Italian POWs with Italian-American sponsors of similar regional origin. Purpose: build rapport, make supervision easier, facilitate communication. Unintended consequence: forced POWs to confront the success of emigrants they'd been taught were failures. Conti's memoir describes his first Sunday at the Colombo farm. Mrs. Colombo, Maria, insisted I join the family for Sunday dinner. I protested. "I'm a prisoner," she laughed. "In this house, Sunday dinner is for everyone." The meal, documented in detail. First course, antipasto, cured meats, cheeses, marinated vegetables, olives. Second course, minestrone soup with fresh bread. Third course, pasta al pomodoro, fresh tomatoes, basil, olive oil, parmesan. Fourth course, roasted chicken, 2 whole chickens for 8 people. Fifth course, roasted potatoes, green beans, salad. Sixth course, fresh fruit, apples, pears, grapes from their own vines. Seventh course, biscotti and espresso. After dinner, sambuca for the men. Conti's reaction: I stared. I couldn't speak. This was more food than my village in Napoli saw in a month, more variety than I'd eaten in a year. I finally asked, "Is this a feast day, a special celebration?" Mrs. Colombo looked confused. "No, this is every Sunday. This is normal." The conversation that followed from Conti's memoir. Mr. Colombo, Antonio, asked about Flavio's family. "Where in Italy? What did his father do?" Flavio explained. "Small village near Naples. Father is a tenant farmer, owns nothing, works land for a landlord who takes 60% of the harvest." Antonio's response: "My father, also from near Napoli, came here in 1895, also a tenant farmer, owned nothing. He worked 3 years for other farmers, saved money. In 1898, bought 40 acres for $400. When he died in 1935, he owned 400 acres. I inherited 200. My brother got 200. Now I grow vegetables, tomatoes, peppers, squash, sell to New York markets. Last year, I grossed $15,000. Your father stayed, mine left. That's the only difference." The names everywhere. As Italian POWs were distributed to work sites across America, the pattern repeated. Documented surname matches from National Archives placement records. Pietro Romano, POW from Sicily, placed with Romano Vineyard, Napa Valley, California. Giuseppe Russo, POW from Calabria, placed with Russo Brothers Construction, Brooklyn, New York. Antonio Bianchi, POW from Tuscany, placed with Bianchi Farm, Connecticut. Luigi Marino, POW from Campania, placed with Marino family, Rhode Island. Each placement was a confrontation with success their propaganda had denied. Private Luigi Grasci, who wrote Uncle Sam's Devils, once he, entered 1946, describes working at a vineyard in California. But the owner, Vittorio Romano, told me his grandfather came from Sicily, the same province as my family. His grandfather arrived in 1903 with $12. Now they own 300 acres of vineyards, produce 50,000 bottles of wine annually, sell to restaurants across California. Vittorio drives a Cadillac. His sons attend university. I asked, "Doesn't America discriminate against Italians?" He laughed. "Sure, sometimes. But discrimination doesn't stop you from working, from saving, from buying land. That's the difference. In Italy, the system stops you. Here, only you stop you." The guards who spoke Italian. Perhaps the most psychologically devastating discovery, Italian-American soldiers guarding them. By 1943, approximately 500,000 Italian-Americans were serving in the US military. 3.1% of US population, 16 million Italian-Americans out of 132 million total. 3.1% of military, 500,000 out of 16 million servicemen. Exactly proportional representation. Many Italian-American soldiers were assigned to guard Italian POWs. They spoke the language, understood the culture. For the POWs, this was cognitive dissonance personified, from Flavio Conti's memoir. At Camp Monticello, the guards included Sergeant Benedetto, Corporal Ricci, Private Marino, all Italian-Americans. They spoke Italian badly, with American accents, mixing English words, but Italian. I asked Sergeant Benedetto, "Were you born in Italy?" "No, Brooklyn, but my grandfather was from Calabria, came here in 1895. Or do Americans discriminate against you?" "Sometimes. My father couldn't join certain clubs. We weren't welcome in some neighborhoods. But I'm a sergeant in the United States Army. I'm guarding you. Who's discriminated against here?" The irony was inescapable. Italian soldiers who stayed loyal to Mussolini, captured, imprisoned, defeated Italian Americans who abandoned Italy, free, prosperous, victorious. September 8, 1943, Italy surrenders. Signs armistice with Allies. October 13, 1943, Italy declares war on Germany. For Italian POWs in America, this created an impossible situation. Technical status, no longer enemy. POWs, but not exactly. Allied soldiers, either US government solution, create Italian service units. ISUs. POWs could volunteer to work with US Army, would receive better treatment, more freedom, wages would support Allied war effort, but not in combat could move relatively freely, especially near Italian-American communities. Alternative, refuse. Be labeled pro-fascist. Remain in isolated camps, Texas, Arizona, Wyoming, under harsh conditions. Result, 90% of Italian POWs volunteered for ISUs. 45,000 men chose to work with America against their former ally, Germany. Why? Multiple factors. Pragmatic, better conditions, freedom, money, ideological. Many POWs hated Germans, blamed them for Italy's suffering. Psychological. What they'd seen in America convinced them fascism was a lie. From Antonio Bianchi's letter, censored file, National Archives. We were told leaving Italy was cowardice, but the ones who left built something. The ones who stayed got nothing but war and hunger. Maybe the cowards were actually brave. The transformation wasn't complete yet, but the seeds were planted, and they would bloom in the strangest places, working alongside the enemy's descendants. 1944-1945, Italian service units deployed across America. Work assignments, army depots, loading supplies, seaports, unloading ships, hospitals, orderlies, maintenance, agricultural work, harvests, construction, building roads, facilities, but the most transformative placements working in Italian-American communities. Sunday dinners became recruitment tools. Catholic churches in Italian neighborhoods began hosting POWs for Sunday meals. Italian-American families would adopt by POWs, invite them to homes, introduce them to communities. From National Archives Oral History Project, 1980s interviews with former POWs, Giuseppe Marino, former ISU member. The Benedetto family in Providence invited me for Sunday dinner, every Sunday for 6 months. Mrs. Benedetto cooked like my grandmother, pasta, meat, vegetables, wine, or they had 3 sons, 2 serving in Europe, 1 in the Pacific, fighting against Italy, against me, technically. But they didn't hate me, they pitied me. You were lied to, Mr. Benedetto said. We left because we knew. You stayed because you believed. The marriage is, by 1945, an unexpected phenomenon. Italian POWs forming romantic relationships with Italian-American women. Why this happened? POWs had relative freedom in ISUs, attended church services, community events, spoke Italian, even if dialects differed, shared cultural background immigration law problem. US quotas restricted Italian immigration severely. Solution. POW American couples traveled to Italy to marry, legally establishing relationship, then applied for immigration after POW returned home. Estimated numbers, several hundred marriages between former Italian POWs and Italian-American women, exact records incomplete. The symbolism was powerful. Men who came as enemies became family. The return, October 1945. ISUs decommissioned. POWs returned to Italy. Most arrived home in January 1946. What they found: Italy devastated, cities bombed, economy destroyed, government collapsed. Hunger, rations at 1,000 calories a day versus 3,000 plus in US camps. Unemployment, 40% plus, political chaos, monarchy versus republic. Debate, raging, what they remembered from America, abundance, opportunity. Italian Americans thriving, freedom to work, own property, build businesses. Result, approximately 5,000 Italian POWs, 10%, stayed in America permanently, applied for immigration as war ended. Another 15,000, 30%, returned to Italy, but re-immigrated legally within 10 years. Total, 40% of Italian POWs eventually chose America over Italy. The Sharma cowards, who fled Italy generations earlier, had been right. And the Sea Brave, who stayed, learned it the hard way. How POWs changed Italy. June 2nd, 1946. Italy holds referendum, monarchy or republic. Result, 54% vote republic. Historians note, Returning POWs, especially those from America, were significant voices for democracy. They'd seen democracy work, seen prosperity without monarchy, seen Italian Americans succeed without aristocracy. Marshall Plan's success, 1948 to 1952, partly attributed to "Maybe America is not the enemy," sentiment among Italians, sentiment reinforced by POWs who'd been treated well. The numbers don't lie. Final statistics: Italian POWs captured 600,000 plus total, sent to America 51,000, joined Italian service units 45,000, 90%, stayed permanently 5,000, 10%, re-immigrated within 10 years 15,000, 30% total, who chose America eventually 20,000, 40%. The propaganda said Italian emigrants suffered in America. Reality: 40% of POWs who saw America wanted to stay there. Think about this. You're Giuseppe Russo in 1943. You believed Mussolini's propaganda your entire life. Italian emigrants are failures. America oppresses them. Staying in Italy is patriotic. Then you're captured, sent to America, placed with a family named Russo like you, who owns 400 acres and earns more in a year than your village sees in a decade. You meet Italian-American soldiers, descendants of cowards, who are guarding you, the key to brave. 1. You eat Sunday dinners with 7 courses while your family in Italy survives on rationed bread. Here's my question. At what point would you have stopped believing the propaganda? When you saw the surnames? When you tasted the food? When Italian-American guards spoke your language? And the harder question, would you have had the courage to admit you were wrong? To admit that the cowards, these were actually the smart ones? Leave your answer in comments. When does loyalty become stupidity? If this story wrecked you, subscribe to WWII History Hub every day, every week. Stories about ideology versus reality, about propaganda versus mathematics, about the moments when prisoners learned the truth. Hit the bell. These stories matter. 425,000 German POWs in America. Thousands stayed permanently. The Midwest is still full of their descendants. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the trenches.